All right, guys, I warned you that this was coming, and it is here. This section is on problem solving, and it's on problem solving exclusively. So what that means is it's going to be pretty much about word problems and word problems alone. And I know this is almost everybody's least favorite thing in math is word problems. So this chart should look familiar to you. If you need to pause this and make sure that your chart includes all of these, if there are anything's on here that you don't already have in that chart in your formula section, make sure you add them. If you never put this in your formula section, you might want to pause this now and add this chart to your formula section. All right, so basic steps for word problems. All right, you need to read it first. All right, you're not gonna be able to solve a word problem if you don't read it and you don't understand the main point. Choose a variable to represent whatever your unknown is. In Math Excel and in this publisher, sometimes they'll actually tell you what they want that variable to be. If you don't use the variable that they want, you will get it wrong, because Math Excel is a little bit picky about that. They strongly suggest that you make a drawing, and I would encourage that as well. Make sure you have some scrap paper with you when you're doing word problems and draw out what the question is. If it's a question that can be done visually, it will help you out a lot. Next step is you're going to want to translate that problem. Take what you see in the word part of the problem and try to put it into an equation, and then solve that equation. And then you have to make sure that you check it and make sure that you're actually answering the question. Sometimes they don't actually, the answer to the question is not going to be whatever x equals. Sometimes it's going to be something different. It might be you find x for the short side of a rectangle, but they really want the long side, so you need to plug in that value for x into the long side of that equation. So you're going to have to make sure you read the question well and you're actually answering what they're asking you. So direct translation problems. This is stuff where you're going to see things that are in this chart directly in the equation. So that's when you're going to see things like, in this example, twice a number plus 3 is the same as the number minus 6. All right, so twice a number is going to be 2x. All right, plus 3, that's kind of self-explanatory, is the same as, that's going to be an equal sign, is the same as, is an equal sign, that same number minus 6. So this is pretty self-explanatory. In order to solve that equation, you write out what they're asking for, and then you go through the process to solve for x. And that's what we've been doing the last 2 or 3 sections, so I'm not going to bore you with that. The product of twice a number and 3 is the same as the difference of 5 times the number and 3/4. So they want you to find what that number is. What you're doing is you're actually going to be solving for x. So you need to understand what they're looking for. You know that this is a direct translation problem, and they want you to solve for what that number is. So twice a number, that's going to be 2x. And 3, that's just going to be plain old 3. So the product of twice a number and 3, so product tells you it's going to be multiplication right here. All right, is the same as, that's going to be an equal sign, is the same as is an equal sign. The difference, okay, difference is subtraction. The difference of 5 times the number, so 5x, and 3/4, so 5x minus 3/4. And then you're going to find that number. So when you write that whole question out, you have the product of twice a number and 3, so 2x times 3 is the same as the difference of, minus sign, 5 times the number, 5x, and 3/4, right? So if you see something like the product of or the difference of, the first thing that they list is going to be what's going to be at the beginning of that part of the expression. All right, so if you have the product of or the sum of, whatever they list first, that's going to be that first part, okay? And you'll have your sign, and then whatever the second thing is, it will be listed after that. So this equation comes out to 2x times 3 equals 5x minus 3/4. And then you need to solve it, okay? So you do the multiplication on this side, you get 6x equals 5x minus 3/4. You're going to want to get the x on its own side of the equation. So x equals a negative 3/4. Okay, so then you have to go back and look at what were they actually looking for. They wanted to know what that number is. So you know that the number is negative 3/4. So make sure you answer the question. Don't just leave it half done. All right. Solving problems involving relationships among unknown quantities. Okay, these are going to be your problems that you would see in the real world. All right, so when you guys hit 25, you're old enough to actually rent a car. So rental agency advertises renting a Buick Century for $24.95 per day with an additional 29 cents per mile. If you rent this car for 2 days, how many whole miles can you drive on a $100 budget? All right, so what you're looking at is, you know, you have $100, so you're going to have $100 on one side of the equation. You have $24.95 per day for 2 days, so that's going to be $24.95 times 2. And you add to that 29 cents per mile, so that's going to be 24.95 times 2 plus 0.29 times x, or your miles, equals 100. Okay? So this is what that equation should look like, right? And then you're going to need to solve for x, because they want to know how far you can drive. Okay, so you distribute this 2, so you multiply this 2, and then you get the x by itself, and that should give you your solution. Okay, so it's going to tell you approximately, this is going to be a decimal, and it asked for how many whole miles you can drive. All right, don't make the mistake of rounding this number up because it's 172.7. You only have $100. If you drive 173 miles, you won't have enough money to pay for the rental. So you would actually stop at the 172 miles, not at the 173. So if you have something that involves money, never round up. All right, never round up if you have something that involves money, because you can't afford it. So think about it. If I go and round up, will I still have enough money? No, you won't. So don't make that mistake. All right, the measure of the second angle of a triangle is twice the measure of its smallest angle. The measure of the third angle of the triangle is 3 times the measure of the smallest angle. Find the measure of all of the angles. All right, this kind of word problem you would want a picture for, and they give that to you. All right, where x is one angle, 2x, and then 3x. Now, they're looking for find the measure of the angles. So they're going to want more than just x. They're going to want you to find x, then find 2x, and then find 3x. And you guys should know by now what the measure of all the angles of a triangle are. Okay, so you're going to need to use that. So you have x plus 2x plus 3x is going to equal your 180, because of the angles of a triangle will equal 180 degrees. You might want to put that in your formula section too. Draw like a picture of a triangle, and then put something like measure of the angles equals 180. That way you know when you have problems in the future, all right, when I do this again, it's going to equal 180. Any triangle, the measure of the angles is 180. So you have x plus 2x plus 3x equals 180. Combine your like terms. So you can combine all these. 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 180. Okay, that would give you 6x equals 180. You would divide both sides by the 6. That would give you the value for x. All right, so x equals 30, but they want all of the angles. So one of your angles is 30 degrees. Then you're going to multiply that by 2. That would give you your second angle. That would be 60 degrees. And then you multiply that by 3, and that would give you your third angle, which is 90 degrees. So the measures of your angles are 30, 60, and 90 degrees. All right, so make sure you answer the question completely and answer what they're actually looking for. Okay. All right, I told you guys to make sure you wrote down this formula at the end of 2.2. solving consecutive integer problems. I told you you'd see it again, right? So you have the sum of 3 consecutive integers equals 252. Find the individual integers. So because these are even integers, your first integer is x, okay? Your second integer is x plus 2. Your third integer is going to be x plus 4, okay? Because if you have, say, 10, 12, and 14, the difference from 10 to 12 is plus 2. The difference from 10 to 14 is plus 4, all right? So you're going to add all of those together. So you have x plus 2 plus x plus 4. Combine your like terms. You get 3x plus 6 equals 252. You're going to need to get the x by itself. So x equals 82. That's your first integer. You're looking for all 3 consecutive integers. So you take your 82, you add 2 to it, that's your second integer. You add 4 to it, that's your third integer. So your 3 even integers that add together equal 252 are going to be 82, 84, and 86. Okay, so guys, if you didn't write down that formula, you're going to want to write down that formula. Okay, you're going to see this again. So make sure you go back and write down the steps. Write down these steps, all right? And make sure you write down this table. You're going to want to have both the steps here and the table here. You can put the steps in your own words so that you understand it. That's fine. But the important thing is that you make sure you read the problem, figure out what they want you to solve it, and make sure you actually answer the question that they're asking. If you don't answer the question that they're asking, even if you get the x value correct, your solution will still be wrong. All right, so make sure you double check that word problem and you find out what they really want to know. Do they want to know just the measure of the smallest angle? If you go back to that equation that has the measure of the angles, all right, if you go back to this one, they're looking for that smallest angle. Maybe they want to know what the largest angle is. Make sure you read the question because that's going to change what your answer is. All right, in this case, they wanted all 3, but in some situations, you'll see they'll ask, what's the measure of the largest angle? Now, you still need to do all of this work, but your answer in this case would only be 90 degrees. So make sure you double check to see what they're actually asking you. That's an easy way to get a problem wrong that you don't need to get wrong. All right, so bust out those examples, make sure you add those steps in that chart to your notebook, and throw a couple of these examples in the notebook, especially the ones that involve drawing, okay? So you get used to that. And go get that work done, and enjoy the rest of your evening.